Good morning, class. Today we're going to be discussing this matter of fractions. And before we begin going through some scenarios, I would like for you to look up here on the board, and I want you with your math journal out to go ahead and draw these pictures. You have a circle divided into two pieces, another one that's divided into thirds, 3 pieces, 4, and then 8. And I want you to go through, and once you've drawn them, I want you to put the equivalent fraction next to it, right beside it. This one's going to be 1/2. If we had one piece of this missing, it would be equal to 1/3, 1 out of 3. As you see, there's 3 sections. This one is 1 out of 4. And this one would be 1 out of 8. And you see the fractions listed here. And as you learned last year, you have your top number is known as the numerator over the bottom number, the denominator. And anytime that we get ready to perform functions, whether it's adding, subtracting, we need to first find out what the least common denominator is. And your least common denominator is known as the least common multiple of 2 or more denominators. So when we have scenarios such as this, that I'm going to be bringing up here to show you, we have listed here a scenario of people that had eaten on their sandwiches while coming to school due to failure to eat at home. You had one person that had 1/3 of a sandwich left, another one had 2/5, and we add both these together. We can see already that we do not have matching denominators, therefore we must convert it. And when we do that, we have to find the least common, and we know that's going to be 15. So what do we have to multiply by to get 15 for the 5? We're going to have to multiply by 3. Take that times the original number in the numerator. 2 times 3 is 6. For the 1/3, we multiply by 5. Take 1 times 5, and you get 5/15. Then, after we've done the equivalent fraction, then you take only the numerator, the top numbers. 5 plus 6 equals 11/15. So they came very close to having a full sandwich between the two of them. In the second one, first person they still had 7/8 left. Second person had 1/3. Then we have to look for its least common denominator, and for here it's going to be 8 times 3. That's going to make it 24. And when we take 3 times 7, we get 21/24 as its equivalent fraction. For the bottom half of the equation, 1/3, it's going to be 8/24. Then we take, again, the numerators, 21 and 8, add those together, and that equals 29. The denominator stays the same, so it's 29/24. And as you can tell by the numerator being larger, it's going to be an equivalent of a mixed fraction. It's going to be 1 and 5/24. Because you still have a remainder of 5. You couldn't take it times 2, that's 48. And so your answer is going to be final here of 1 and 5/24. And I'm going to go ahead and take this back down while you finish copying the information up here in your math journal. And I want to see it dated with today's date, showing this matter about fractions. It's essential you learn these terms and know how to convert over and what they represent. They have a visual of what that fraction represents. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand out some sheets. And we're going to have you work in groups as you're seated. And I want you to stay on that. I want you to go through, and there's going to be 2 handouts. One is specifically for adding. And as you see here, you have Frank the fraction adds. The second one, similar title, but for here the function is to subtract. And there's a total of 10 on here. And what I want to do is hand you one of each. And I want you as a group to do all the odd numbers. And what I want you to do is to take this sheet, and I want you to show your work on the back side for me of how you came up with your answer and circle it then record it on the front of the sheet. And then, once everybody is done completing all the odds on both sheets, then we're going to review it, and we'll see, as a whole, what you missed on these. And if you have questions, let me know. We're going to go over that before we begin our second grouping, and this time it's going to be individual. For those that were not done as groups, I want you to complete all the even numbered. So I want you to start on those after we get done going through the odd numbers. And then once we're done with the even and odds, I'm going to have you turn the sheet in, and I'm going to record all those that are on the evens. And we're going to look at those so you have a total of 5 available. That means if you miss one on all these evens, you're going to have automatically an 80. So you got to be very careful when you do your work. That's why on these working together as group, there's only going to be 10 minutes to do 10 questions. Then I'm going to give you 20 to 25 minutes to perform the task of doing the evens on both sheets. I'm going to give you time to double check your work. Then we're going to have you turn them in, and I'll grade them myself. Then we're going to go through and review and make sure that you understand this concerning the matter of fractions. So I'm going to let you go ahead and start, and I want you to go ahead and begin your work. Okay? Now I want you to set your sheets up there on top of your desk in the corner so that I can come by and pick them up. And as I pick them up, we're going to review, and I'm going to ask you verbally as I walk around collecting the sheets, what is the numerator? Can anybody by a raise of hand tell me what the numerator is? Okay, Isaac? Okay, the numerator is the top number, correct. That's the top number of your fraction. And when do we have to find the least common denominator? When there's difference on the denominators. We have to find its equivalent so that we can perform the function. With them being different in size, you are not going to be able to do so. So we need to do that. Okay, what is a denominator? The denominator is the fraction, the part of the fraction that is at the bottom. And then you have also your part that where you're going to be able to go ahead and perform the function after you convert the equivalent fraction for your least common denominator. What part of the process are you going to add or subtract? What is the parts you're going to add or subtract? Caleb? It's only going to be the numerators because you've already converted the denominators. As we saw earlier, you're only taking that top part and performing that. And you're going to take, like for example, 1/3 plus 1/4. After you convert it to 12ths, which is going to be your least common denominator, you then take the numerators, 4 plus 3, and that's going to make it 7/12. You're only adding the 4 and 3. The 12 remains the same because that's your common denominator. So you're not going to be performing anything on that. You make sure that you do that correctly, and you will not have any problem performing the functions of add and subtracting. And what we'll do tomorrow as a follow-up is we're going to go and do some word problems where you're going to be given information in a paragraph, and then we'll need you to perform the function below showing your work of how you came up with your answer. And we're going to go through that again to make sure everybody is understanding this matter of fractions. It's essential to know how to perform it so that you can be able to keep up with things that need to be done in everyday life. Some simple, just like doing doubling of a recipe. When you're cooking and you're having company over, you want to make sure you've got all the essential items necessary to perform it. So it's good to make sure if you're going to have to double the recipe, find out what it is. You'll add 2 of the same fraction, whatever it is. If it's 1/3 cup of sugar, when you double it, that's going to be 2/3. So you make sure that you've got enough to cover it. And if not, then make your list of items to buy at the store. Thank you.